I didn't go home for Thanksgiving for 4 years. Not after the night my sister told a lie that destroyed my relationship with my family. But this year, my mother sent a message saying, "We want everyone back home." Everyone. I should have ignored it. But I didn't. And the moment I walked into the house, I realized something was very, very wrong. My seat at the Thanksgiving table, the spot I'd sat in since I was a kid, wasn't there. Instead, a stranger was sitting in it. I knew my family had moved on without me. But I didn't expect them to replace me. Not just emotionally, literally. My childhood seat at the Thanksgiving table was filled by someone else. And worst of all? My sister introduced her as the daughter my parents always wanted. If you'd told me last year that I'd return home for Thanksgiving, I would have laughed. Or cried. Or both. I hadn't been back to my parents' house in 4 years. Not since the night everything exploded. Not since I packed my old Honda with whatever fit and drove away without saying goodbye. But 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I received a message. Not a call. Not a letter. Not even a sincere apology. No. A group text. From my mother. Thanksgiving dinner at 5. It would mean a lot if everyone came back home this year. Everyone. Funny word, when you're the one who left. I should have ignored it. Blocked the number. Moved on like they did. But something tugged at me. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the last dying ember of a family bond. Maybe foolishness. Whatever it was, it pulled me 600 miles back to the same driveway I vowed never to stand in again. The house looked the same, white siding, navy shutters, wreath on the door. But something felt off. Too many cars. Too many voices. Too many shoes piled on the porch. And none of them felt like mine. My chest tightened as I rang the bell. Footsteps. Laughter. A woman's voice I didn't recognize saying, "I'll get it." The door swung open. Not by my mother. Not by my father. Not by my sister, Grace. But by a stranger. A girl my age. Blonde. Pretty. Wearing a cozy cream sweater and holding an oven mitt like she belonged there. "Hi," she chirped. "You must be Emily." I blinked. "Sorry, and you are?" Before she could answer, a familiar voice appeared behind her. Grace. My sister. The golden child. The star. The one who always got what she wanted, including the life I didn't know I was losing. She wrapped an arm around the woman and beamed. "Oh. This is Megan," she said proudly. "She's basically, well, the daughter Mom and Dad always wanted. You two will love each other." The words were a punch to the gut. Megan smiled like nothing was wrong. Grace smiled like everything was right. And I stood on the porch like a ghost visiting my own life. Then Grace added, almost casually, "We saved your old seat for Megan. Hope you don't mind." I felt something in me crack. My childhood seat. My place in the family. My identity. Taken. Claimed. Given to someone else. I hadn't even stepped inside yet, and already I knew. This wasn't Thanksgiving. This was a funeral. And the person being buried was me. Walking into my childhood home felt like stepping into a parallel universe. Everything was familiar, yet nothing belonged to me anymore. The smell hit me first. Cinnamon. Roasted turkey. Homemade rolls. The same scents that used to fill my favorite memories. Except now, instead of comfort, they twisted in my stomach like barbed wire. The hallway walls were lined with framed photos. But even those had changed. Where there once were pictures of me and Grace, school plays, birthdays, vacations, most of the ones with me were gone. Replaced. Rearranged. Cropped out. Literally cropped out. One picture still had my arm in it, cut off awkwardly at the edge, while Grace stood in the center smiling beside my parents. Megan walked confidently ahead of me, waving her hand as though she were giving a tour of a house she owned. "We repainted last summer," she said. Grace picked the color. "Isn't it gorgeous?" "We?" Grace picked the color? This girl had been here long enough to say we? Grace followed behind, smiling brightly like this wasn't the most uncomfortable moment of my life. "Come on, Em. Don't be weird. You'll love her. She fits in perfectly with us." Us? There it was again. That invisible but unmistakable line between them and me. The same line that pushed me out of the family 4 years ago. The night everything shattered. The night Grace lied about me, and everyone believed her. I shook the thought aside and focused on breathing. We reached the dining room, and that's when I saw it. My seat. The one at the left side of the table, the spot I'd claimed since I was 8. Gone. In its place was a new chair with a fluffy cushion, an embroidered place card that read Megan Red Heart, and a small floral arrangement. My spot at the table, decorated for someone else. Grace was already pulling Megan's chair out like a proud host showing off her favorite guest. My mother hurried out from the kitchen then, wiping her hands on a towel. She froze when she saw me. Her face flickered, guilt, surprise, too much emotion to disguise, then she plastered on a smile. "Oh. Emily. You made it." No hug. No warmth. Just acknowledgement. A 4-year absence reduced to a 3-word greeting. My father was behind her. He didn't freeze. He didn't smile. He didn't flinch. He just nodded. The same nod he used to give strangers. It stung more than I expected. Mom stepped aside, motioning toward the table. "You can sit next to your father." The worst seat. The one farthest from the center. The one everyone avoided. I almost laughed. I shouldn't have been surprised, this family had always been predictable in the worst ways. I moved toward the chair, but before I could touch it, someone slid into the seat. Grace. She plopped down casually, crossing her legs and shrugging when she noticed my expression. "Oh, sorry," she said, "not sorry at all. Megan hates sitting on the end. She feels left out. I figured you wouldn't mind." My jaw tightened. Of course. Of course Megan's comfort mattered more than mine. Of course Grace predicted I wouldn't speak up. Of course movement in this house revolved around them. My mother's voice broke through the tension. "Emily, sweetheart, you can sit at the folding chair at the corner." A folding chair. A metal folding chair. At the corner of the table. Half hidden between the china cabinet and a fake plant. Like they didn't expect me to stay long. Like I wasn't even supposed to be part of the dinner. Like I was, temporary. Megan giggled, actually giggled, as though this was adorable. "Oh, Emily, it's fine. Really? I'm sure you're used to sitting anywhere. I'm not picky, but these chairs are just so comfortable." Grace leaned in with a smirk that only I could see. She was enjoying this. My mother cleared her throat again. "Sit down, everyone. The food's getting cold." The family sat. Except me. I stood there for a moment, absorbing the scene. Absorbing the reality of what I'd returned to. Absorbing the fact that they didn't just replace me, they were proud of it. Megan beamed in my childhood seat. Grace sat comfortably beside her. My parents sat together at the head of the table. And I sat alone, in the corner, on a metal folding chair. The scraping sound of the chair on the hardwood floor echoed through my bones. I sat down slowly, quietly, like a guest at a table that used to be mine. My mother began talking about the turkey. My father passed the mashed potatoes. Grace laughed loudly at something Megan whispered. Nobody asked me a thing. Nobody welcomed me back. Nobody cared. Except for one small moment. One flash of recognition. When Grace looked at me across the table and smiled a cold, satisfied smile that said, "You shouldn't have come back. She's replaced you. And they prefer it that way." The room faded into background noise as I sat there, gripping the edge of the folding chair. For the first time since stepping inside the house, one truth hit me deep. I wasn't home. I was a guest in my own family. And I had no idea how much worse this would get. Like they'd rehearsed this Thanksgiving without me for years. Grace lifted her wine glass and tapped it gently. "I just want to say," she began, eyes glowing with self-satisfaction, "how grateful I am that we get to introduce Megan to the whole family today." Megan blushed, smiling the kind of smile you practice in the mirror. "She's basically part of the family now," Grace continued. "She's been here every week. Mom and Dad adore her. She even came to my promotion dinner. And last month's fall decorating day. And..." My mother cut her off gently. "We're just very blessed to have someone like Megan in our lives." The words landed like a slap. My father nodded, reaching out to pat Megan's hand. "I don't think we've ever had someone fit in as naturally as she does." My stomach twisted. I watched the scene unfold from my metal folding chair, the only non-matching chair at the table, like I wasn't supposed to be there. No one asked about my life. No one asked where I'd been. No one asked why I returned. It was as if I were a stranger who wandered in by mistake. Then Grace tilted her head, eyes gleaming with the kind of cruelty that only a sister who knows your weaknesses can deliver. "So, she said sweetly, what are you doing these days?" The question wasn't for information. It was bait. She wanted to humiliate me, the way she always had. I answered carefully. "I've been busy. Work has been good." Megan leaned forward, chin resting on her hand. "Oh. What do you do?" Before I could answer, Grace jumped in. "She's still doing that little counseling thing," she said with a dismissive wave. "It's like volunteer work, basically." I blinked. Little counseling thing? Volunteer work? I ran a clinical trauma program at a major treatment center. But she said it like I babysat people's emotions for fun. My mother chimed in, not helping. "Well, Megan's studying real psychology," she said proudly. "She's working on her master's in clinical therapy. Isn't that wonderful?" The irony was almost funny. If only I had the strength to laugh. Megan smiled shyly. "Oh, I wouldn't call it real psychology yet. But I do love helping people. Sometimes I volunteer at the women's center Grace supports." Grace jumped in again. "Yes. And she's amazing. She has such a gift with people." I sat there, my pulse pounding. Everything I had built, alone, in pain, without them, was being overshadowed by a girl they'd known for a fraction of the time. Grace wasn't done. "You should let Megan shadow you sometime," she said to me, smiling like this was all a game. "You know, so she can learn some of the basics." It stung harder than it should have. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "That's not how my job works." Grace rolled her eyes dramatically. "Oh, Emily, don't be like that. It's Thanksgiving. We're celebrating. Try to be, I don't know, part of the family for once." Megan laughed, quietly, nervously, but she didn't defend me. Of course she didn't. People who benefit from someone else's erasure rarely protest it. Dad cleared his throat. "Well, enough about careers," he said firmly. "Not all of us need to brag." Grace smiled. I wasn't bragging. I was appreciating. He nodded. "You've always been appreciative." I almost choked. They were rewriting history right in front of me. My mother changed subjects. "Grace, dear, tell your sister about the new holiday tradition." Grace's face lit up. "Oh. We started something new while you were gone," she said, voice sweetening. "Mom wanted something meaningful this year. So, instead of going around the table saying what we're thankful for, She reached under her plate and lifted a small gold envelope. We write gratitude letters to the person we're most thankful for. Everyone smiled warmly. Megan giggled, reaching for her own envelope. This is my favorite new tradition. It's so special. My mother handed me an envelope too. Go ahead, Emily, she said, smiling. I stared at it. I knew what was coming. I knew exactly what was coming. My lungs tightened as each person opened their envelope and read aloud. Grace's letter was for Megan. Megan's letter was, of course, for Grace. Mom's letter was for Dad. Dad's letter was for Grace. When it was my turn, everyone stared at me expectantly. I looked down at my empty paper. I hadn't written anything. Who would I even write to? My father raised an eyebrow. Well? My mother leaned forward. You can read yours now. I exhaled slowly. I didn't write one. Silence slammed into the room. Grace smirked. Of course you didn't. Mom's voice was tight. Emily, we asked everyone to participate. I looked around the table, at these people who replaced me, erased me, celebrated the woman sitting in my seat. I didn't know who to write one to, I said softly. Dad scoffed. Everyone else figured it out. Grace added, you could have written one to Megan. She's been nothing but kind to you. I stared at her. Kind? She took my seat. My place. My family. But before I could answer, Megan spoke up. She reached across the table, placed her hand over mine, and said, Emily, as strange as it sounds, I wrote mine for you. The room froze. Everyone looked at her. Everyone stared at me. Grace's jaw tightened, surprised and angry. I met Megan's eyes. Why? I whispered. She swallowed. Because I heard a lot about you long before I ever met you. My breath hitched. And, she added, quietly, not all of it was fair. Grace glared at her. Megan. But Megan didn't stop. She kept her hand on mine. And for the first time that night, someone acknowledged my pain. Megan's hand rested on mine only for a second. But in that second, everything in the room shifted. Grace stared at her like she'd spoken forbidden words. My mother stiffened. My father's lips pressed into a razor-thin line. I pulled my hand back gently. What do you mean? I asked, keeping my voice steady. You heard things that weren't fair. Megan hesitated. That was all it took for Grace to jump in sharply. She doesn't mean anything, Emily. Can we please not start drama? It's Thanksgiving. I turned my gaze to Megan. Megan, what did they say about me? She looked down at her lap. I shouldn't. But another voice cut through the room. Not mine. Not Grace's. Not even my parents'. My mother. Enough, Megan, she said quietly but firmly. You've already said too much. My stomach dropped. There it was. The confirmation. They had talked about me. A lot. Grace let out a nervous laugh. Don't get weird. You know how Mom can be dramatic. Nobody said anything bad about you. My father cleared his throat, annoyed. Can we move on? Let's not derail dinner with. With what? I snapped. The truth? Dad's jaw clenched, the same way it used to when I dared to question anything. Old wounds opened instantly. But I wasn't a child anymore. And I wasn't afraid of him. I leaned forward, voice low. Tell me. Tell me what you told her about me. Grace rolled her eyes so hard it hurt to watch. Oh my God, Em. You always do this. Always. You make everything about you. I laughed, a short, humorless sound. Funny. You replaced me with a stranger and I'm the one making it about me? Grace's chair screeched as she stood. You left. Don't forget that part. You walked out on us. I left, I said sharply, because you lied about me. Because you told Dad I sabotaged your scholarship application. Because you told everyone I was jealous of you. Grace slammed her hands on the table. You were jealous. My body went very still. There it was. The confession she didn't mean to make. My mother gasped. My father looked away. Megan froze. I spoke slowly, carefully, the way you speak to someone holding a knife. Grace. Did you? Or did you not? Lie to Dad about me ruining your scholarship? Grace swallowed. Her eyes darted between our parents, searching for support. But none came. She was alone. Finally, she lifted her chin. It doesn't matter anymore. My voice rose before I could stop it. It matters to me. Silence shook the air. I felt years of hurt clawing up my throat. Dad hated me after that, I said, breath trembling. He barely spoke to me. He called me ungrateful. Selfish. A disappointment. And you knew it was all based on something you made up. Grace flinched. My mother whispered, Emily, please. No, I said, cutting her off. Thanksgiving is about honesty, right? About gratitude? Well, I'm done being grateful for crumbs of love. I want the truth. Megan whispered, I think she deserves to know. My father snapped. Megan, stay out of this. Megan shut her mouth instantly. But she didn't look away. Grace dropped back into her seat, breathing hard. You always had it so wrong, she muttered. You think you were the victim? Of everything? You think I had it easy? You think being the perfect one was fun for me? I blinked. Perfect one? Grace took a shaking breath. They expected everything from me. Everything. Straight A's. First place. First choice. First everything. While you got to be quiet and average and emotional and still somehow be special because you were sensitive. A bitter laugh escaped her. You were their little wounded bird. Their project. I had to earn my place. You got yours automatically. I stared at her. Was she serious? Grace, I said slowly, they spent my entire life comparing me to you. You were the favorite. No, she snapped. You were the mystery. Mom was always worried about you. Dad was always frustrated with you. And I watched them bend over backward to figure you out while I was just expected to shine. I got attention, sure, but never empathy. Never softness. Never care. My mind reeled. I opened my mouth, but my mother suddenly stood up. Enough. Both of you. Her voice cracked, loud and brittle. This was supposed to be a good Thanksgiving. Her eyes darted between us, panicked. But then she said something that changed the entire room. Something small. Accidental. A slip of the tongue. We didn't need this. Not after everything we went through when Emily left. My breath caught. Grace went pale. Dad looked like he'd been stabbed. I spoke slowly. What do you mean? Everything we went through. When I left. The air shifted. Megan looked at them all, confused. What happened? My mother clasped her hands together, knuckles white. We didn't want to worry her, she whispered. We didn't want to tell her about what Grace did. Grace gasped. Mom. But it was too late. I stood so slowly the chair leg scraped the floor. Tell me, I said. Tell me everything. My mother's voice trembled. The night you left. Grace didn't just lie about the scholarship. She looked at Grace, pleading. Tell her. Grace looked sick. My father pinched the bridge of his nose. Grace, he said. Enough. Tell her. Grace swallowed hard. Her eyes met mine. I didn't lie only once, she whispered. I waited. I lied twice. I stared at her. About what? Grace's lips parted. Her voice came out barely audible, but the words were loud enough to destroy 15 years of our lives. I told them you said you wished I wasn't born. My world tilted. You what? Grace covered her face with her hands. I panicked. You were Dad's favorite that year. He kept saying you were finding your path while I was falling apart. I wanted them to feel sorry for me. I wanted Mom to comfort me. I wanted to be the one they worried about. My chest rose and fell too quickly. I felt like I was drowning. Dad whispered, horrified. You never said that. I shook my head violently. Of course I didn't. I would never. Grace sobbed. I know. I know. I wanted to feel important for once. I wanted to be the one who needed help. I pressed a shaking hand to my mouth. And they believed you, I whispered. Grace nodded. They did. Dad rubbed his face. For years, Emily. Years. I thought you hated your sister. I thought you were cruel. My mother added softly. We thought you pushed her away. My voice cracked. You all hated me. Because of a lie. No one moved. No one spoke. Finally, my father whispered. We're so sorry. But the apology didn't land. It couldn't. Not after a lifetime of damage. Not after losing my family to a lie. Not after returning home only to find someone else living my life. I sank back into the metal folding chair, feeling small and exposed. Megan whispered. Emily. I'm so sorry. Grace wiped her eyes. I never meant for it to go that far. Tears slipped down my cheeks. It ruined my life, I said softly. Do you understand that? It ruined my life. Grace broke down into full sobs. My mother cried quietly. My father stared at the table, ashamed. Megan watched in stunned silence. And I sat there, 15 years of pain unraveling at once. Thanksgiving wasn't a dinner anymore. It was a confession. A reckoning. A breaking point. And it wasn't over. Not even close. I don't know how long the silence lasted after Grace's confession. 10 seconds. 10 minutes. 10 years. It felt like time broke in that moment, holding every memory of my childhood in its fist. Every slammed door. Every empty birthday wish. Every moment of being ignored. Every feeling of being unwanted. All squeezed together until I could barely breathe. Grace kept crying into her hands. My mother kept whispering prayers under her breath. My father stared at the table like the truth had physically punched him. And I felt nothing. Not anger. Not sadness. Not even betrayal. Just numbness. The numbness that comes from finally seeing the truth you were never meant to discover. I stood up slowly. Not dramatically. Not aggressively. Just stood. My mother jumped. Emily, sweetheart, where are you going? I wiped my face with my sleeve. Home. Grace shook her head, panic rising. Emily, no, please, don't leave like this. I'm sorry. I swear, I held up a hand. I'm not leaving in anger, I said quietly. I'm leaving because I finally understand. My father's voice cracked. Understand what? I met his eyes that had once looked at me with disappointment, frustration, coldness, all because of a lie he never questioned. That none of this was ever my fault. Dad's throat bobbed. I continued. For years, I thought I was unlovable. Difficult. Broken. Too sensitive. Too emotional. Not enough. Tears burned behind my eyes. But it wasn't me. It was the story you all chose to believe about me. My mother stepped forward, trembling. We didn't choose it. We were confused. Grace was. Grace was a child, I said. But you two were adults. And you believed the worst of me without asking. Without talking to me. Without giving me a chance. Grace sobbed harder. I'm so sorry. I really am. I nodded. I believe you're sorry. Grace's eyes softened with hope. But, I added gently, I also know you're sorry because you've finally been caught. Not because of the damage it caused. Her face crumpled. Dad tried to move closer. Emily, please, let's rebuild. We can start over. I took a step back. You can start over. As a family. With Megan. With Grace. With your new traditions. With your new daughter. Megan's eyes widened. I'm not trying to replace. I shook my head. This isn't your fault, Megan. I know that. But you fit into the space that was carved out by pushing me away. It's not about you, it's about the space that existed in the first place. Megan swallowed hard and nodded. Then I turned to my father. I spent years wondering why you didn't love me. And it was because of a sentence I never said. A lie you never questioned. He covered his face with both hands. I failed you, he whispered. I didn't disagree. My mother cried softly. We want you back, she said. We want to fix this. I looked around the table. At the chair that wasn't mine anymore. At the walls where my pictures used to hang. At the traditions I'd never been part of. At the life that had moved on without me. You don't get to lose me for years, I said softly, and then get me back in one night. My mother broke completely. Grace reached toward me weakly. Emily, don't go. Please. I gave her a small, sad smile. You already replaced me, Grace. Long before Megan ever entered the picture. Grace collapsed into tears. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. I walked toward the front door, grabbing my coat slowly, calmly, not with the rage of someone storming out, but with the clarity of someone finally waking up. My father tried one last time, voice shaking. What are you going to do now? I opened the door. Live, I said. The cold evening air wrapped around me like a long-lost friend. I stepped onto the porch. Behind me, Megan whispered, she deserves peace. My mother cried harder. Grace called my name. My father sank into his chair. But I didn't look back. Not once. I walked down the driveway with steady footsteps, the same driveway I had left years before, broken, ashamed, convinced I was the problem. But this time? This time I wasn't running. I wasn't escaping. I wasn't leaving in fear. I was choosing myself. Halfway down the sidewalk, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. I opened it. One line. From Megan. If you ever want the truth from me, the whole truth, I'm here. I stared at the message. There was more they weren't telling me. More Grace hadn't confessed. More my parents had buried. But for the first Thanksgiving in my life, I didn't need answers to feel whole. I needed freedom. And I finally had it. I slipped my phone into my pocket, lifted my head, and kept walking. Away from the family that replaced me. Away from the lies that shaped my childhood. Away from the pain that lived in that house. Toward a life where I wasn't the unwanted daughter. Or the forgotten sister. Or the ghost at the table. Toward a life where I belonged to myself. And for the first time in 15 years. That was enough.